All right, let's take a peek at what we're being asked to do in this question. We got triangle QRS. That's the big triangle written out here, the one on the outside. T, U, and B is that small triangle that you find in the interior. They're telling us in triangle QRS, T, U, and B are midpoints. Ooh, that's super important. Midpoints. So that right there, T, that's halfway between Q and S. Okay, and if that's a midpoint, then what we have here is a mid-segment. TU is a mid-segment. So let's go over here and talk about what we know about mid-segments. One thing that we know about mid-segments, I'm going to just kind of squiggly line this one right here. If that's a midpoint and that's a midpoint, then the squiggly line is what we call a mid-segment. Now, a mid-segment is always going to be exactly 1/2 of its parallel line on a triangle. So notice that this line and this line here are parallel lines. So if this line, the long one, was 10, I could tell you right now that the short mid-segment would have to be half of 10. So you just take 1/2 and multiply it by that value, and you could say that would make this 5. So if that's 10, the mid-segment, which is created from midpoints, that would be exactly half the length of its parallel side. So let's use that information in this problem right here and see if we can answer what TU, segment UB, and segment QR are. So I'm gonna go over here, we'll get our answers. So segment TU, let's figure out what that would be. TU is this line right here. It is parallel with RS, and they're telling us RS is 40. So all we're gonna have to do is take 1/2, multiply it by 40, and that's gonna give us 20 units for TU. Line segment TU is 20 units long. Next question was UB, so we're trying to find segment UB's length. UB is U to B, that's this line right there. And it's parallel with Q to S, QS. Well, they're telling us QS is 50 units long. So we're gonna have to take 1/2, multiply it by 50, and that's gonna spit out a 25 units for UB. Line segment UB is 25 units long. Now this last question is a little bit different because they're giving you the mid-segment length. So if the mid-segment length is 30 for TB, that's going to correspond with QR. We got a parallel line here and a parallel line there. So if that's 30, well, remember that's a smaller one, so it's got to be half of whatever Q to R is. Well, if QR would be, or excuse me, if 30 is half of QR, we can just double that 30, and we could say that segment QR would have to be the 30 times 2, which would give me 60 units for QR. I could go up here and I could say this distance up here is 60 units long. I could say that TU is going to be 20 units long. I could say that UB, segment UB is 25 units long. And now I've finished everything that I need in this triangle. Hopefully you got a strong understanding of mid-segments, midpoints. Once you figure all that stuff out, it's quite simple calculations, right? We're either doubling or cutting in half. Study hard and good luck on your upcoming test.